Hi there, Victor Pross speaking to you, anarchist artist. Okay, today we are going to talk about the free market, the provision of justice and conflict resolution. Now, DROs is an abbreviation that's very familiar to anarchists and libertarians, of course. DRO standing for Dispute Resolution Organization. Dispute Resolution Organization is a concept that that has been proposed in the face of a stateless society. Where we have a stateless, free market, anarchist society, we have dispute resolution organizations that has been conceived by various anarchist and libertarian thinkers. There's a lot of common people, of course, that shudder at the idea of the very idea of a stateless anarchist society, and I'm very sympathetic towards that, of course. You know, a lot of people have very reasonable objections and concerns, to say the least, such as how will a stateless society deal with violent criminals? What about national defense? Can a stateless society deal with how will a stateless society deal with pollution? What about contractual disagreements and violations and breachments and so forth? Yeah, very legitimate concerns, naturally. Now, there's not only common people that have objections to the very idea of free market anarchism. A lot of objections will come from philosophically inclined minarchists, small government advocate types, who are very loud and long on their concerns, to say the least, the loudest of which comes from the objectivist camp. Objectivism, of course, is the philosophy of Ayn Rand. And Ayn Rand herself, not a great fan of anarchism, we could say, not a very great fan of anarchist libertarians included. She was a small government constitutional kind of gal, and she didn't write very extensively on anarchism, but such that has been written is not very favorable. And to quote one such source from Rand, anarchy as a political concept is a naive floating abstraction. A society without a organized government would be at the mercy of the first criminal who came along and who would precipitate it into the chaos of gang warfare. But the possibility of human immorality is not the only objection to anarchy. Even a society whose every member were fully rational and faultlessly moral could not function in a state of anarchy. It is the need of objective laws and an arbiter for honest disagreements among men that necessitates the establishment of government. Oh, God. Sure, I've got as an anarchist, of course, I have a great deal of problems with this. One of which, of course, that Rand legitimately draws attention to the fact that where you do have a congregation of human beings making up a society, you will have conflicts, of course. They can either be a resort to violence or there could just be conflicts in other ways. And these are very legitimate concerns, of course, right? But and the anarchist thinkers and libertarian thinkers also recognize the potentiality of conflicts arising among human beings, of course. But whereas anarchists are seeking to propose alternative solutions to minimize and avoid such conflicts, the Randians resort to that age-old institution known as the state as a solution, to an institution that history has shown to be the greatest violator of rights. I mean, it's just fucking wacko, and this is why I'm no longer an objectivist when it comes to political philosophy. But hey, there it is, and the objections come thick and fast from the Randian camps. They will continue on with their objections, one such being, and this being a popular one, suppose that two different agencies, DRO agencies, reach different verdicts in a criminal case. Huh? Well, what's going to happen from there? It's going to lead to this anarchist zombie bloodletting in the streets. That's what's going to happen. That's immediately what they jump to. It's just freaking ridiculous. I mean, is it so difficult to imagine that these agencies would have agreed beforehand to submit such disputes to an impartial third-part arbitration agency? I mean, for God's sakes, people are not these violent psychopaths that in the face of the first instance of a disagreement resort to a gun or reach for a gun or a knife, for Christ's sakes. This is not how people operate. Most people want to avoid violence. Most people just want to fucking be happy and productive in their life. Now, as Rothbard has suggested, and a great many of other libertarians naturally, they have suggested that the rational self-interest would generate cooperation among different agencies. Of course it would. And by the way, regarding the whole idea of stateless society and DROs, I do recommend Stefan Molyneux's Stateless Society, an Examination of Alternatives, and that's found in the link of this video. And that's the whole idea is that we are trying to reach alternative ideas instead of that age-old institution, which has proven itself to be, for all millennium, to be a failure, and a bloody failure. So it's, given the nature of the beast, it has to be so. And in actuality, violation of rights and in the improper use of coercion has actually been the norm under governments. Now that's the problem that I have with Rand. However, let's turn more to the positive side, of course. There's a great deal of Rand. She gets a raw deal from the objective or from the anarchists, and sometimes undeservedly so. Now let's get to the positive points of where she's made great contributions. One particular that has had a great impact on me. Now that we learn from Rand that philosophy, not politics, is primary. Philosophy is not politics, is primary. Okay, if I could get this across to my fellow anarchists, for God's sakes, who think that the solution to minimizing or abolishing the state is via the machinery of the state through politics, it just drives me fucking crazy. But anyway, now an ideal Randian objectivist government could emerge and be sustained only in a society with a significant percentage of rational people. That is what they argue. An ideal objectivist government with objective laws, fully rational, rights-protecting government can only emerge and be sustained in a society with a significant percentage of rational people. A substantial percentage of a population, for instance, that understood and respected individual rights will have a truly limited government. Okay, fine, that's good. Let's entertain that assumption. Let's go for that little while. However, I take issue with minarchists or objectivists who change the assumption in their attacks on anarchism. Now, instead of a predominantly rational culture, we have the specter of bands of warring brutes forming their own DRO agencies. Jesus Christ. It's a rather convenient way of arguing, isn't it, of course, right? Look it. There will not be a shift to a stateless society without first a shift of the culture's predominant philosophy, where individual rights and their application of property rights is the culture's mainstay. First we got to change the culture, then comes the politics, in that order. It's hierarchical in that case. It does not take an optimized, rational culture, nor an ethical philosopher for that matter, to know what aggression is. These thugs and outlaw DROs would enjoy rather even less legitimacy in a predominantly rational culture. Even in today's irrational culture that's been weaned on state propaganda and irrational superstitious religiosity, even in today's irrational culture, thugs and violence and aggression, people recognize it, they shun and condemn it. So never mind a society that's predominantly rational, for Christ's sakes. But there you go. There you have it. If we were to follow the Randian conclusions here on this and the objectivists, basically I guess what we would have is, people would be like, gee, without a monopolistic government to define objective law, we have no rational way to distinguish a just agency from an unjust agency. If only we had a wise government to make this decision for us, we could identify and condemn outlaw agencies, but we don't have a monopolistic government to tell us what to believe and what to do, so we have no choice but to accept every self-styled justice agency that comes along, because we're stupid without the government. Give me a freaking break. A private agency, far more than a government, must maintain legitimacy in the public eye. And if an agency were to violate its own agreements and procedures and violate individual rights and the non-aggression principle, it would quickly lose public credibility. A private agency is not automatically conferred with the aura of legitimacy and authority that established governments typically enjoy, given their state indoctrination from the age of 3 and onward. Such respect in the free market must be earned, and that would be a very good thing, to say the least. Of course, okay, where legitimacy and has to be earned and has to actually be offered to a predominantly rational culture. But anyway, this concludes part 1 of my talk. I will continue on, and with this question. It's very important, I think. And thank you for listening. It's Victor Pross signing out, anarchist artist, Pop Coals, the culture.